Okay, we're continuing with looking at roots. I think we're only looking at square roots. We're going to talk about some other varieties later, I believe. And I think you're going to find this section fairly easy to understand. So let's get started. So we're now going to move this into the world of variables. So I don't think we looked at that in our last video. So I am going to follow the exact same idea that I was telling you about before. Now, many of you will see this in your head and you won't have to do what I'm doing here, but I'm going to turn x to the 6 into its factors, which is literally 6x's. Now, I'm going to do that trick I showed you before where this is a square root. So that's every pair allows me to bring one of them out. So I can bring out 3x's, and if we multiply those back together, that's x to the third. Now, if you want a shortcut here, I'm going to keep showing it this way, but if you want a shortcut, you're taking a square root, which is a 2, and you're dividing it essentially into the 6. That's where the 3 is coming up because you're doing pairs, so you're dividing it in. Now, I'm going to keep showing this, at least at the beginning here, because we're eventually, I think it's in this textbook, but we can do cube roots or fourth roots, and sometimes we'll have things left over inside the house, which I know is coming in the next chapter or next section. So, okay, so I am literally going to do this. Okay, I just told you I was going to draw them all out, and then it turned into this massive number of y's. Okay, so I am partnering them up, and I've got 8 partners, so it's y to the 8th. And again, if you wanted the shortcut, we're taking square roots, so those are 2's. A square root is 2. We got to have pairs. So if you divide your pairs into 16, you get 8. Okay, try this on your own, but you see that if you pair these up, you're going to get y to the 4th. If you pair these up, you're going to get z to the 6th. Okay, same thing here. You see you'd be able to pull out 2 m's and 5 b's. All right, so we have the numbers now and the variables. So this has a perfect square root, but again, I'm going to show it to you like this if it helps some people. I've broken 16 down into its parts, and I've got a couple of n's in there. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to lasso if you didn't know the square root. And again, the reason is because the next section is going to have things left over the inside, and so you'll have to do this. So I can bring out a 2 and another 2, so that's a 4 and 1 n. So I can bring out 2 times n, and that gets me 4n. All right, now if you understand it, like that, we know this square root is 8, and we know that if there's a pair of x's, we can bring one out. That's fine as well. You don't have to do what I was doing. I'm just trying to illustrate what's going on behind the scenes. And if you do here, I think I'm right. Yeah, 13 squared, I believe that'd be right. I think that's right. Okay. Now, we talked about not being allowed to have negatives under a square root, but this is outside, so this isn't going to change anything. So this is negative 9c. So I'm doing what's in here, so the square root of 81 is 9, and c squared is c. So I can bring those out of the house, just throw the minus on. And again, if you wanted to, you could break 81 down if you didn't know it, and bring out the pairs. Yeah, well, actually 121, I was going to do another one the long way, but 121 is just 11 times 11, so I can bring out a 1y and an 11. All right, now you know this square root probably, but okay, those are the factors of 100. So if that was inside the house, we would have this. Okay, that's all in there. Now let's lasso up pairs. Now you already know the answer probably, but I want to show you. See, this is going to work. I can bring out a 2 and a 5, so that's back to being 10, multiply them back together, and I can bring out a single p. Okay, this is just extending to multiple variables now. The square root of 36 we still know is 6. Got a pair of x's, I can bring out 1, pair of y's. And there is absolutely no shame in writing it out the long way that I showed you. If you don't see it, that's totally fine. Just do it. So we already saw the square root of 100 is 10. Got a pair of a's, I can bring one out. A pair of b's, I can bring one out. I think I know that, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to break 225 down. So I'm not sure. So I'm going to, okay. So if I break that down, so a convenient illustration if you need the help on this. So I didn't know 225 for sure. I wasn't certain about it. I thought so, but so I broke it down to its pieces so I can bring out. So let's circle pairs. So I can bring out a 3 and a 5, an m and an n. So multiplying back together, 3 times 5, 15. Bring out 1m and 1n. Okay, now it doesn't really matter. Now this obviously p to the 64th. Like if we did our little trick here, this would take forever. But so this is a square root, so it's going to be pairs. So we're just dividing by 2. So the square root of 64 is 8, but we can bring out half of the p's. So we'd get p to the 32nd. And then same here, I think they've done this so that you begin to be forced to see the trick. Square root of 49 is 7. If we paired up those x's, there's 30 x's, if we paired them up, we'd be able to bring out 15 of them. Okay, so again, square root of 81 is 9. You could do the long way if you didn't know it. And now if we're pairing up w's, we'd have 18. All right, same thing, just multiple variables here, but nothing really extraordinary happens. I've got 121, that's 11. If I'm partnering up the a's, I get a to the 3rd and b to the 4th. All right, a couple more of these and I think this section will be done. I hope it's pretty easy for you. Partnering up the x's and the y's in order to bring them out of the house. All right, same thing. You can always pause the video and try it yourself if you'd like. Okay, that's one of the easier sections, I think, but make sure you understand. And if at least wrap your head around the idea I'm saying about pairing them up, because we're going to need to revisit that, and I believe in the next section.